I finally have the Daniel Smith massive dot cards. These are the 266 dot cards. They're hard to get your hands on. Daniel Smith released them, I want to say February, and they've been nearly impossible to get. So I am going to today swatch out this entire thing, which is also going to be my Saturday video. It's going to be the edited down version. So I got mine at a local art shop, which meant that I paid significantly less than they retail for. I've been seeing them for between $39 and $45 Canadian. I got mine for $33 Canadian plus tax, which was very nice. And one thing I dislike about Daniel Smith is that they don't put pigment numbers on their dot cards. On any of them, even when you buy a massive set like this, there are no pigment numbers, which I find really unhelpful. So I have, actually Mom, spent an afternoon going through and writing all of the pigment numbers for me. So we're gonna go through this and swatch them all out. We're gonna start in the order they come in. They're actually page numbered. They're labeled 1 through 5, and it should be quite a lot of fun. Should also take a while. Also, I finally have a Daniel Smith sticker. For somebody that owns as many Daniel Smith paints as I do, I've never actually managed to get one of their stickers because they only come in their palette sets, and I don't actually own a Daniel Smith palette set. So we're going to start with page 1, which is all reds and yellows into purples, and then page 2 is purples, blues, greens. Then we've got greens into neutrals, we've got more neutrals, and we've got the shimmer interference. We have more shimmer interference, and then we've got gouache. The funny thing is, since this came out, they've come out with a whole bunch more gouache colors, which they've listed on the back. So this is supposed to be their complete collection, and it's not, because they've come out with a whole bunch more gouache colors, which they've printed on the back, but they didn't provide dots of, which I find a little bit frustrating because this was supposed to be the complete Daniel Smith collection, and it's really not. So we are going to go through and swatch all these. There we go. Some of these I know, like Buff Titanium is in my palette. Also, Daniel Smith says don't swatch on their paper that they have dots on. I don't like that, so we're just going to swatch on their paper because it bugs me when dot card companies say, and it's only Daniel Smith. Schmincke puts their dots on watercolor paper, and this feels like watercolor paper. So we're just going to swatch on it. Buff Titanium is probably one of my most used colors. I probably use it more than I use white. It's just a solid neutral. But I'm also going to pre-wet everything because I can't remember how some of these re-wet, and I'd rather not have to wait more than I have to in this video because there are going to be so many things that I have to wait on. So I love Quin Coral, which I think they've discontinued since this dot card came out. That's the other thing. Because they don't add pigment numbers, you don't know when, because Daniel Smith as a brand changes their pigment numbers, I'd say fairly often. You don't know when or when the card was made and what pigments are in it. So there is a perk of the Schmincke pigment cards, dot cards, and the fact that they add pigments to them. There are also lots of Daniel Smith colors that just don't have pigment numbers, which is also frustrating because some of them seem like they should have pigment numbers and other brands they do, and Daniel Smith just doesn't list pigment numbers for them. I love their Cobalt Violet. I don't love their Cobalt Violet Deep. So let's Nickel Titanate Yellow, another color that's currently in my palette. It's quite a solid yellow. And then we've got Bismuth Yellow. Again, I think this yellow is in my palette I go through phases with colors, and right now I'm on a big yellow kick. And I've got a bunch of Daniel Smith yellows because most of my Daniel Smith palette is whatever I could get in the clearance section because their tubes are really pricey here. 5 ml tube is between $15 and $20 in some stores. So I tend to, oh, I don't have that yellow, I have that yellow. I love this yellow. This yellow is actually in a full pan in my palette. Oh, this is totally not watercolor paper. Like you can see how the waters are sort of like ghosted into the paper, but it's fine. I like cadmium, I like the cadmium light hue better. Oraline, which is cobalt yellow, is in my palette. It is one of my favorite yellows from any brand. And then we've got cadmium yellow deep hue. Again, not a favorite. Hence the yellow medium. I don't have the Daniel Smith version, but I've got other versions that I quite enjoy. Mayan yellow, not a color I have. Oh, that's fun. I've got some of the Mayan colors, but not the yellow. Lemon yellow is one of my favorite yellows. PY75. Okay. PY97 and PY150. Oh yeah, that makes sense for an Indian yellow. Okay, I like it. Naples yellow isn't, I tend to prefer the light version. I find it too orange undertone most of the time. And I just don't paint anything that I need it to be that orange undertone normally. Hence the yellow deep. New Gamboge, I have this color. I think I've actually just finished my 5 ml tube of it. Isodine yellow, which always seems so orange to me. It's like not really a yellow. It's an orange. Permanent yellow deep. We'll go over here. Aussie red gold. I love this color. This is a color that's actually on my tube list. It's very Quinn gold, and I just adore it. Though it does stick to my brush quite badly. So we're actually going to grab a piece of paper towel. Pyrrole orange. Ooh, that's bright. That's like, I think I've got pyrrole orange from somebody else. We've got permanent orange. Oh, it's PO62. All right, so I have that from Schminke and from Cosmic Creations, but not from Daniel Smith. Normally I read out all the pigment numbers. I'm not doing that for however many colors this is. 266 colors. That's too many. I'm gonna read out names, and if something's really intriguing, I'll read out the pigment numbers. Otherwise, it just seems like a lot. Perione orange, PO43. I don't know that I've got a PO43 in my palette. It's one of those sort of odd oranges. I'm not a huge orange fan. I like the Aussie red gold, like the burnt muted orange range, but I don't tend to like the bright orange. Cadmium red scarlet hue. Does Daniel Smith not do cadmium colors anymore? Ooh, interesting. There are a couple brands that have moved away from cadmium colors. Transparent Pyrrole Orange. I would have switched those two. Organic Vermilion. Mayan Orange. Again, always very red. Quinacridone Coral. I know I love this color. It's amazing how orange it looks here, and normally I have it with my hot pinks because, and like on here it looks very hot pink. Like normally it's just a very hot pink color. Scarlet, Pyrrole Scarlet. I wish they used a slightly higher quality paper for your dot card. If you're spending $33 on a dot card, or between 33 and 45, depending on where you buy it, it would be nice for it to be a high enough quality paper that you could just swatch beside the color. Perylene Scarlet, PR 149. All right. Anthracnose Scarlet. Yeah, all these cadmiums are hues. Maybe they no longer use cadmium. Interesting. Pyrrole Red, PR 254. I will also say, you can see these sort of drips of color. It's just not as tidy of a dot card as some of the other brands. Schmincke's is a very pretty dot card, I would say. And I think I had that comment about the Daniel Smith one before, that was that it just wasn't a pretty dot card. Permanent Red Deep. Oh, I like that. Oh, but it's got PR 170 and then F5 RK. Do they actually not have a pigment number for their quinacridone red? I bet you they don't. And if they don't, I'm gonna guess it's PV19. Oh, there is. And I was correct. It is PV19. So, where's my black pen? Where's my black pen? And then is anthracnoid red actually that? He probably is. No, it's not. Oh. There. That looks correct. Right. I'm going to assume that everything else is correct from this point forward. Yeah, that makes more sense as PR 177. Mayan Red, another color that I constantly talk about adding to my palette and yet never have. Alizarian Crimson, one of my favorite colors. I'm almost done my tube of it. And then they've got a permanent version, which, you know, unless you're planning on storing work in the sunlight for decades, you really don't need to worry about the light fastness of alizarin crimson. Rhodonite Genuine is such a pretty pink, but they offer no pigment info on it. Carmine. They're gonna put all of the genuine colors that are shimmery in with everything else. They have, because I'm looking at one that I know is shimmery. Shit. Ah. Seriously, Daniel Smith? Rose Madder Permanent. Quite pretty, very pink. Will probably be added to my palette at some point. Opera Pink. Potter's Pink. I have their Potter's Pink. I quite This looks nothing like my Potter's Pink from them. My Potter's Pink from them is so bright pink. Quinacridone pink. Quin Rose. You'll notice that this is the same pigment as that. PV19 comes in a wide variety of shades. Quin Lilac. My favorite version of Quin Magenta. Quin Magenta comes in this pigment combination and PR, PR202. That's the other version, and I prefer the PR122 version. It just, I find it works better in mixes. Pyrrole Crimson. Then we're gonna go through the stock card and figure out which ones are shimmery so that I don't contaminate everything. Quinacridone Fuchsia. I'm sure you can call yourself a fuchsia. Mayan Violet. I have finished my 15 ml tube of you. Bordeaux. Oh, you're pretty. It's like a darker version of Quin Magenta. It's like nicely moody. Permanent Violet. I don't love it. Quinacridone Violet. Sure. Oh, that's another PV19. Welcome to the wonderful world of PV19 where you never know what pigment or what the pigment will look like. This is Perylene Violet. I want to love this color so desperately. Like, it fills my moody, dusty vibe up for colors, and I just never have found a version that doesn't dry super, like, sort of flat and chalky. Cobalt Violet. I love this color. It's funny to me that they've kept all their cobalt colors, but they've gotten rid of all their cadmium colors. So there's page 1, and let's figure out Daniel Smith genuine colors that sparkle. Colors with glitter content. Thank you, Sandy Alnock, for having a blog on this. Because honestly, Primatech Properties, glitter. Red Fuchsite Bronzite. Okay. Badly drawn star. Amethyst. There's amethyst. Kyanite. Sugilite. Bronzite. Bronzite, red fuchsite. Tiger's eye, burnt tiger's eye, human. Bronzite, burnt bronzite, red fuchsite, All right. Okay. There. Now I won't contaminate anything. One page done. Many to go. Let's get rid of these. Like that I'm just skipping the ones so that I don't accidentally swatch them. Because I keep my shimmer totally separate from my matte. Also, like this, like I feel like when I'm spending this much on a dot card, I want them to be in this and this. Like I want them to be tidier than Daniel Smith makes them. They're just not, they're not tidy. They're not, they don't feel like a good introduction to the brand, in my opinion. Because there's not a small amount of money. Also, this color's been discontinued, which is the thing, like when they don't put pigment numbers or really any information on the color, it's really hard to know. This one has changed or is changing its pigment numbers. It's not the only one. Where's the other? There's another that's having a pigment number update in the next little bit. Also, these dots weren't totally dry when they stuck the pages together. And I know that because there's little bits of paper stuck to some of them. Which again, while not being the end of the world, is one of those like, really, like you don't even have time, like you don't even have time to wait until the pages are fully dry to stack them up. Ultramarine red. Into PV15. They all look the same. Rose of Ultramarine, on the other hand, is one of my favorite colors and has been for a very long time. Quinacridone purple. Did we not just... Oh no, we had quinacridone violet. Imperial purple. This is a color I think that's currently on my list. It is no longer on my list of colors I want. Purpurite Genuine. Well, that's sort of fun. Capsule Violet. Oh, is this the new one that granulates? I think it is. Let's see how that dries down. Cobalt Violet Blue. I would say that one feels out of place in that line of colors. I wish they'd switch those two because I know what those... Oh, there's Ultramarine Violet. I know what... I know what the rest of these look like, so I wish, and I know what this looks like, so I wish they'd switch these two. I feel like that would have been a better color lineup. Moon Glow. Another super fun color. Shadow Violet. So I've, what do I have in my palette? I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. I have Wisteria, but I have the Wisteria Gouache. I have these, I have that. Indigo, I have indigo in my palette. Though I do prefer the genuine indigo. Like if I'm gonna use an indigo, I'm gonna use genuine indigo. Mayan Blue Dark, one of my favorite colors. I'm going to need a new tube of it soon. I have so many different versions of it from so many brands because it comes in so many different shades. Indian Throne Blue. I go back and forth on my love of this color. Currently I'm on an Indian Throne Blue kick. Sodalite Genuine is so much fun. It's like if you mixed indigo and Indian Throne and Mayan Blue Dark and got like this really dark, fun purple. Lapis Lazuli Genuine. Not a color I own. I think I want to say a 15 ml tube of this, like over $40, which is not money I have for, actually it's probably more than that these days. French Ultramarine is a color I own, and I am done my tube of it. Ultramarine Blue, being very careful not to get that line of cobalt blue. It's a standard PB 29. You're not going to get that much color variation. Cobalt Blue, it's a cobalt blue. Phthalo Blue Green Shade. I hate this color. I know I hate this color. I hate PB 15.3. It's just a me thing. I find it really overpowering in mixes. I find it really overpowering by itself. I just never use it. Lavender. I love this color. The thing is, I own a bunch of versions of this color from other brands, and I don't use them enough to justify getting the Daniel Smith version. King's Royal Blue. This is new. Oh, it is pretty. That might be an addition to my palette once I have paint money. Verdier Blue. It's sort of like a muted mix of those two. I'm not against it. Phthalo Blue Red Shade. I prefer that to that, which isn't surprising. I prefer PB 15.6. I already knew that. I've got one. I love it. I much prefer it. Prussian Blue is a color I love. I just never reached for because it's so awkward to use in mixes. Mayan Blue Genuine. I find it funny that they list the pigment number for this version, but not for this version. I think the pigment code for Mayan Blue Genuine is PB 2 something. But I'd have to go on Kremer to find it, and honestly, I don't know that I've got the energy for Kremer today. Cerulean Blue. Cerulean Blue Chromium. This is the version I prefer. Manganese Blue Hue, which I did love, but now I've got access to genuine manganese blue, and I know how it compares to the actual stuff, and it's like, well, you're pretty, but you're not actual manganese blue. Though it is a pretty good comparison. The Yellow Blue Turquoise. Oh, that's fun. I could see that being added to my palette someday. Cobalt Blue Turquoise. Phthalo Turquoise. Oh, I've finished my 5 ml tube of that, and I've actually got a 15 ml tube on order because I use it quite a lot. Kingsman Turquoise Genuine. Never actually heard of this color from Daniel Smith. It seems very emerald. Ultramarine Turquoise. Seems very similar to that. I could see it in some very specific applications, but I'd want to see them side by side. Oh, this is Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine. This is a very sought after color in the Daniel Smith world that I've never actually had my hands on. Cobalt Turquoise. Oh, this is the PB 36 version. So this is actually my favorite version of Cobalt Turquoise. It's great for mixing and it granulates really beautifully. Amazonite Genuine. Always reminds me of, oh, where is it? Is it not on this page? It always reminds me of Viridian, which is down here. It is on this page. Blue Apatite Genuine. Oh, so pretty. Lunar Blue. Honestly, when I see them side by side, like there isn't a huge difference, but I do really like Blue Apatite Genuine. Cobalt Green Pale, which is, I've got the Schmincke version. I know how nicely the Schmincke version reactivates and how pretty it looks. You can see the yellow halo already starting, like the binder automatically separates out of this color. It's just so annoying to work with. Viridian, It's a PG-18. Though they seem to currently be one of the only people still making a street PG-18, so if you want it, Daniel Smith is one of your only options. Winsor & Newton just discontinued theirs. Phthalo green, blue shade, is a color that I use a shocking amount. You're going to find it a lot in mixes. Cascade green, one of my most used greens actually, because it granulates spectacularly. I have tried to mix this color so many times with so many different PBR 7s. For the life of me, I can never get it with the ratio they have, so more brown than blue. It just doesn't look like this. I can get it if I reverse the percentages. So, Jadeite Genuine, I have this in my palette. I really don't use it that often. I find that it doesn't mix that well. Cobalt Green. I would say this is what the Schmincke version of this color looks like. The PG-19 from Schmincke looks like this color. Spring Green. Oh, that's fun. It's like just bright and fun. Permanent Green. I have Permanent Green from Holbein, but they're really the only brand I've got a Permanent Green from. Ooh, Phthalo Yellow Green. I've got this in my palette. I like how I'm going, ooh, it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty because you've got it in your palette. Permanent Green. Oh, that's Permanent Green Light. This is just Permanent Green. So I have Permanent Green 1, 2, and 3 from Holbein. But I definitely I see myself using that more than either of those. Phthalo Green Yellow shade. I think I've got like a 15 ml tube of that because I needed it for one of the mixing videos last year. Hooker's Green. I don't own a single Hooker's Green. It's just not my preferred shade of green. Sap Green. Oh, their sap green's actually pretty nice. I like how a sap green looks. There's just something about it that's really nice. Serpentine Genuine. Yeah, I could see myself using that. I might actually have it. Chromium Green Oxide, PG-17. I am not a PG-17 fan. There are lots of people that do amazing things with it. I find it dries really chalky. And then Green Apatite Genuine, which I also have in my palette. I don't have a tube of it, but I have a pan of it that I bought from somebody. All right, so we will come back to these three once I switch to shimmer stuff. But we are not there yet. For now, we're gonna let that dry. And we're gonna grab page 3, which is this one. And I'm super excited because, have they changed their Rare Green Earth? Daniel Smith. I'm gonna be so disappointed. I thought I was gonna finally get to try their actual PG-23. They've changed it. I'm so grumpy. So that's the issue. So depending on when it was made, it's either PG-23, which is actual green earth, which is my favorite watercolor pigment, or it's, as it says here, natural oxides. But they've now changed it to say natural oxides, which is funny because most watercolor pigments are natural oxides. So they've just like gotten rid of the fact that they were labeling colors with their pigments and are saying, well, we can put in whatever we want into this color because all we've told you is that it's a natural oxide. The issue is that depending on what round this card was made in, it might still be PG23, because I know that when Mom was in Paris in May, I had her looking for the PG23 version because that was still what Daniel Smith had its pigment number listed as. So sometime between now and then, they have switched it. But it could also still be PG23 because PG23 is a natural oxide. Welcome to the fun of watercolor pigments. Also, more stuck paper. Lots of the colors on this sheet I've either tried or have in my palette, which sort of comes as no surprise when you've got a palette as big as mine. It does happen. Terre Verte. It's too bright for a Terre Verte. Deep Sap Green. Sure. Actually, we're going to swap out this card with this one so that I can sort of see what the greens were. Perylene Green. I love this green. This is not my favorite version of Perylene Green. I prefer the 33 version, not the 32 version. But, sorry, I prefer the 32 version, not the 31 version. Prussian Green. It's slightly too bright for me. Rare Earth Green. That is not a PG23 anymore. This is the most people I've ever had watching live at the same time. Undersea Green, which is going to have a huge change in its pigment numbers. So, who knows what its pigment numbers actually are, because they're about to have a huge change in their pigment numbers. Sodite Genuine, or they've said that the pigment numbers for it are going to change, but no one knows what the new pigment number is actually going to be. Actually, that pigment number looks wrong. What is its pigment number in my file is the question. Watercolor collection. Daniel Smith. What is your pigment number? Not Da Vinci. Undersea Green. Oh, no, you're still the same. All right. Olive Green. Green Gold. I adore this color. It's one of those colors that I keep saying I need to get. Rich Green Gold. I love that the rich version is a single pigment and the regular version is not. Nicolazzo Yellow. I have this color in my palette. I needed it for the, what video? Quinn Gold. Verona Yellow Gold. No. Oh, it's a PY43. Daniel Smith has too many of these in my opinion, because here's another one. It does come in a whole bunch of color variations. I know that. I've got a bunch of them in my palette. Most brands, they'll pick a couple. Daniel Smith does not. This is a 42. Or they pick ones that are really different. I find that Daniel Smith's are all really close to each other. Burgundy Yellow Ochre, I do have in my palette, but it takes forever to re-wet. Like this and this aren't that far off from each other. At the end of the day, Chrome Titanate Yellow. It's very different. That is not very different. Here's another one. This is a 42. This is Mars Yellow, which I feel like can be justified. It's very different. No idea. This is a genuine though. Raw Sienna, which is a PBR7, which we're also going to head into a whole bunch of. Daniel Smith has a bunch of them. I don't think I have the Raw Sienna. Transparent Yellow Oxide. Another PBR7. PBR6. Another 43. Quinacridone Gold Deep. I do love Quin Gold Deep. I have it in my palette. Italian Yellow Ochre. Just another 43. PBR 11 is Lunar Earth. I have, this is a pan, not as a thing. Burnt Yellow Ochre, which is always funny to me because it's not any of the yellow ochre pigments. The yellow ochre pigments are PY 43 and PY 42, and it's PR 102, unless the pigment for it is wrong. But I'm pretty sure that this pigment number is correct because I remember having looked it up before and going, you don't, yeah, PR 102. Like, you don't make sense. So, genuine garnet. Roasted French ochre. Because, you know, if you needed something different than burnt yellow ochre, you could have roasted French ochre. Burgundy red ochre. Indian red. Which is, I don't have the Daniel Smith version, but I do have a different version. Venetian red. Burnt Italian sienna. Quin burnt orange, one of my most used colors. Quinacridone scarlet, or quinacridone sienna. I didn't know they made a quin sienna. I really like that. I might have to add it to my palette. Pompeii red. Terra. Minnesota pipestone. Italian Venetian red. English red earth. Red Jasper genuine. Hematite burnt scarlet genuine. Quin burnt scarlet. I do love that color. I don't have it, I don't think. Or if I do, it's just the pan. Perylene maroon. So I don't have the Daniel Smith version of this color, but I have the Roman Small version, and it is stunning. This is labeled natural oxides again, which I have to say is like my least favorite cop-out from paint brands, especially a big brand like Daniel Smith, because a lot of these colors do have either pigment numbers or chemical numbers. I can only think of a few that don't. Naphthenide maroon, which I also have never seen in person. I've seen pictures of it. We'll see how it dries down. It reminds me of Perylene violet a little bit, but we'll see how it dries. Lunar red rock. I only have a pan of this. I don't use it all that often, but I sometimes use it for brick. Pymonite genuine. Tiger's Eye Genuine. Burnt Tiger's Eye Genuine. Hematite Genuine. German Raw Umber. Oh, German Green Raw Umber. Do they have a different German Raw Umber? Hematite Violet Genuine. I have this in my palette. And I love the granulation on it. Like even on this not great paper, you can see the granulation and it's stunning. Permanent Brown. Like, look at that. It's such shitty paper and it's just so pretty. So let's let that dry. Page 4. So what we're going to do with this is slightly different because we're going to do these, then we're going to do the gouache, and then we're going to do all the shimmer stuff because I want to do everything sparkly in one go. One and done. So. Titanium white. Because I know how sparkly their shimmery is, and it's very sparkly. And I'd rather not contaminate all my nice stuff with shimmery stuff again. I like how there's again thrown in there, like I don't have a whole bunch of brushes to clean from yesterday. When I screwed up and accidentally used paintbrushes with shimmery stuff. Actually, we're gonna wet gouache one as well because I don't know how long it'll take to rehydrate the gouache. I feel like the wisteria one's pretty fast. The white gouache was actually what I was trying to get when I needed a new white gouache, and I couldn't get it anywhere. So I got the Winsor Newton one instead, which I quite like. But I will say that the Daniel Smith Wisteria gouache is significantly more opaque. Also, seriously, you're paying this much for a dot card, and one of the dots is on top of some of the writing. There's just, it's a lot of money for a dot card for it not to be a sort of a dot card that looks like there was care into putting it together. Quin Gold, one of my favorite colors. Raw Umber Violet. Oh, that is very purple. Oh yeah, it's got PV19 in it. Transparent brown oxide. I'd be surprised if it didn't look purple. Transparent red oxide. Fire Gold Ochre. Burnt Sienna Light. EF Brown Iron Oxide. Oh, environment friendly. That was part of somebody's special edition palette, and I can't remember whose. Burnt Sienna. English Red Ochre. Burnt Umber. Environmentally friendly Yellow Iron Oxide. Raw Umber. Sepia. Sycarite Genuine, Van Dyke Brown, Bloodstone Genuine, Lunar Violet, Neutral Tint, Graphite, Jane's Gray, Payne's Blue Gray, Payne's Gray. Oh, this is actually on my list of colors that I want. There's a couple special edition grays that Daniel Smith has done with artists. So these two and these three and the black are all on my list. I've got one of the Jane's Gray. Oh, I've got Jane's Gray and I've got one for blacks. I was going, where's the gray? That one's fun. And I really like Jane's Gray. What I don't like is that the special edition colors only come in the 15 ml tubes, because that makes them quite expensive. This is their neutral gray. Oh, that's the one with the crazy list of pigments. So PB27, PR101, PV23, PV19, PR177, PY150, PR149. Yeah, that makes a pretty nice black. I think it would make a really fun monochrome piece, or a single pan piece, because you could pick out, probably dilutes quite nicely, and then you can pick out different colors for different layers, which you can do when you use a granulating color and a whole lot of water. Like, you can pick out certain pigments. And then Jane's black, blue, orange. I think I've got the red green version. Ivory black. I definitely have their lamp black, lunar black, and tourmaline genuine. And lunar is probably my go-to black, because no matter what you mix lunar black with, it makes everything granulate. And so if you're looking for that like color to make everything pop, or like create granulating colors yourself, it's always lunar black. Gray titanium, Chinese white. I would say it's not super opaque. It's a PW4, that's why. All right, titanium white. Let's do the final one before we go back to shimmers. And I have to find my shimmer water container. It's probably still over by the sink. Buff. Hansa. Oh, interesting. I would say some of these colors rehydrate better than others. Pyrrole Scarlet and Pyrrole Orange don't rehydrate well, or as well. Pyrrole Red rehydrates fairly well. The Hansa Yellow Medium rehydrated better than Hansa Yellow Deep. Let's look at Quin Magenta. I almost feel like The dots that they have for watercolor need to be the dots that they have for gouache. Their watercolor dots are significantly larger than their gouache dots. And that really doesn't work super well. So I wish we had these bigger dots for this. Here's Wisteria. It's the only color I have in their gouache. I quite like it. Lavender. Cascade green. I don't know how something like Cascade green works in a gouache, because the big thing about Cascade green is that it granulates. I don't know how that would work in something like this where it really doesn't granulate. That one reactivated quite nicely. And as always, titanium white reactivates very nicely. So let's grab all 4 of the cards that need water on them. Because I'll work through them again in the same way. Amethyst, Sugilite, Kyanite, Bronzite, Fuchsite, all right, let's go find the water container. There it is. All right, let's move that. Let's put away the fancy paintbrush. Do I not have? Sure. All right. So we now have a regular brush. There's Amazonite Genuine. There's Sugilite Genuine. There's Kyanite Genuine. There's Bronzite Genuine. There's Burnt Bronzite. And there's Red Fuchsite. Oh, you get to see how sparkly it is, even just on the paintbrush. All right. Choose this one's next. I personally really dislike, I know that I dislike their duochrome and their interference colors because historically, or normally, when you buy these colors from a small shop, they recommend using them on black or over a dark color. And nowhere on this card does Daniel Smith recommend that. And so I am following what is written, which is nothing, but you're going to discover that some of these colors really don't look particularly good on this page. They also don't tell you how long to leave these colors with water on them. Normally when you're rehydrating mica colors, you want to leave them for 5 to 10 minutes with water on them to make sure that they're fully saturated and ready to go. Also, colors like this really only work on black, and nowhere do they say that. And so if you buy this color, you're gonna go, it looks, same with this one, you're gonna go like, what's up with it? It looks really odd. And the truth is, yeah, it looks really odd because it's not the right type of paper and they're not giving instructions on how to use them properly. So actually, we'll take just a little bit of scrap. So those 3, or those 4, those are what they actually look like on black paper, which look significantly better. But nowhere do they say you really should only be using these on black paper, because what you're also going to discover is that these white ones just don't work on white paper. They're called interference colors, or lots of small shops will call them ghost or fairy colors. And they really only work on black paper or layered on top of a dark color. So I use them. I used one of them in my Christmas cards this year. I'll use them in other Christmas cards. Like, they just add a nice pop of shimmer that's not overpowering, but you have to know how to use them. And my issue is that Daniel Smith doesn't provide any insight on how to use them. So actually, I'm going to put this side by side, and we're going to swatch them out as I work through this bottom of the dock card. We're going to 10, 11. There are 13. This is 4. So you can see, like, it's a pretty stark difference. There really isn't anything on here. There's like a certain halo at very significant angles. Whereas on black, they actually look like something. Which is my issue, is that a pigment like this needs... I see a lot of people being really disappointed in them, and personally I believe that's because Daniel Smith needs to market them in a different way. So, that's 8. Because the reality is there are some that are quite interesting. There are some that I like in this collection because they're sort of less common ghosts, or I think they've done it well, like they're gold. But what's this? This is 9. This is 12. This is 13. Oh, it's pearl white, which also not going to show up very well on this paper. Like, I would say interference silver. It's not an interference color. It's just silver, but it's a very pale silver. I'd actually call it a white. Like, this shimmer flake is one that I actually genuinely really like, because most handmade small shops don't do a shimmer flake white, and it's something that I use pretty often for snow in the winter cards. So, no color compared to the color on black, which I think is really disappointing, because I think if they were marketed better, people would be less disappointed when they got them. So, let's keep going. This is iridescent moonstone. I'm also done swatching on a second page at this point, because I personally, like, this one will probably look better on black. Actually, to be fair, most of their shimmers will look better on black. And the other thing is, most of their shimmers have a very high binder concentration to pigment concentration. And so you're never going to get anything as sparkly as a small shop's shimmer. I would say the one, I don't think I hated their iridescent gold. I've so swatched some of these out before because they come on their quinacridone and shimmer dot card, which tends to be the Daniel Smith dot card you find most often. Or at least I find most often here in Canada, is their quinacridone and shimmer dot card. But honestly, when I've got such a large shimmer palette, I don't really have patience for mediocre shimmer colors when I know what's out there and I know how brands can market them appropriately. That is probably never not going to be streaky, just based on the pigment to binder ratio. There's too much binder and too little pigment. Like, you can see the difference between this and this and this and this and this. Like, there's just, so either that's from like the very top of the tube or just as a color, it's got less pigment in the mix. Same with that one. Oh, that's not a great color. I don't think I'd ever use that. And I bet you it's very green on black paper. Iridescent sapphire. Are we going to rehydrate at all? Or are we just going to be a streaky mess? Be a streaky mess. Daniel Smith, seriously? Like, honestly, you're such a huge paint brand. I feel like you could do these well. I want you to do these well. I want to be able to buy a good gold off the shelf when I forget mine at home and I'm on a trip. But these are so, like, some of these have a good pigment to binder ratio and some of these have a really awful one. And so it's like, is it just that I got a good dot of the color, or is this a total problem? This is an actual silver pigment. I would call that a dark sterling. All right, let's go back to page 1 and figure out what I would actually buy from this set. This massive, massive set. We're going to ignore the fact that I already own some colors from Daniel Smith because I'm too lazy to figure out what colors I already own from them. I guess I could, you know, go through and figure out what colors I own. That seems like a lot of work. Oh, we forgot to swatch one. We forgot Fuchsite Genuine, which I know I dislike. It's just so shimmery. It was my first foray into Daniel Smith Genuine colors. It's so sparkly. I don't use it. So here's how this is going to go. So I officially run out of spots to put dot cards. Blue dot's going to be a color I have. Gold dot's going to be a color I want. Azo yellow is a color I have. Nickel titanate yellow is a color I have. New Gamboge is a color I have. I've got buff, but buff is at the bottom. Is that all I have from this? That might be. Oh, I've got Oraline. Oraline. Crinkle Deep. Sure. Cool. I have Potter's Pink. I have Mayan Violet. I have Paraline Violet. I have Quin Coral. What red do I have from them? Mine Violet. Pymonite Genuine. Not on this sheet. What Perm Alizarin Crimson is the one I have. Quinn Rose. Quinacridone Magenta. I don't actually own that many Daniel Smith colors on this sheet. Apparently. Do I have Quinn Violet? I've got Quinn Purple. All right. So what would I add? There are a couple at the bottom. Fuchsite, Quinn Gold Deep, Tight Hematite Sea, Quinacridone Violet. What could I see myself adding? I could see myself adding Quinn. Do I really not have Bismuth Yellow? Could have sworn I have it. Nope, I don't. I could see myself getting that yellow. I genuinely quite like it. Any of their Aussie Red Gold is still on my list. I would like this. I like their permanent red, surprisingly. Quinn Pink. And I like their Cobalt Violet. Are there any others that I really like? Honestly, when you have a palette this big, like it has to be really like, and even then it's just like a what might I add someday. I can see myself potentially adding that someday. Oh, it's only available in a 15. I could see myself adding it from the swap group though. Mayan Red's always interesting. Same with Mayan Yellow. And Lemon Yellow, actually. All right. There's our first sheet done. Let's go on to sheet 2, which is greens and blues, which I have a lot of, and purples. I don't have a whole bunch of purples from them, but I do have a lot of their greens and blues. I am a blues and greens fan in watercolor, not in real life. So I have Rose of Ultramarine. That's still wet. Got paint on my arm. On my finger. All right. Rose of Ultramarine, Shadow Violet, Moon Glow. I have the gouache. It's an awful G. Do I have any of their other purples? Do I have Quinn Purple from them? I thought I did. I do have Quinn Purple from them. What are my other purples from them? Amethyst Genuine. Where's Sucralite actually in my palette? Because I could have sworn that I had it. Oh, I do. It's just not in my order yet. And I have Cryonite. Do I have their indigo? I do have their indigo. I've got their indigo. I have their Indian Throne. I believe I've got their Mayan Blue Dark. Oh no, I've got their Mayan Blue Genuine. Which is this one. Do I not have their Mayan Blue Dark? Apparently not. Oh, I quite like it. Might have to get it. French Ultramarine. Do I have their Cobalt? I do. Phthalo Blue Green shade. Cerulean Blue Chromium. Manganese Blue Hue. Cobalt Teal Blue. It's always interesting to see how brands organize colors compared to how I organize colors. Where is their Prussian blue? There's their Prussian blue. Because I organize my palette very differently. Yellow, green. Tiger's Eye Genuine is not on this page. Undersea Green. It's not on this page. All right, here's what we're actually gonna do. We're gonna go through the green section with this. We're gonna go through the green section with both of them because there aren't all that many greens. And I want to get them all done in one go. So, Undersea. Where was Tiger's Eye Genuine was actually all the way down here, which is funny. I have it with my, this version looks much more brown than my tube does. Mine is like a much more like dirty yellow. Cobalt Green Pale. It's over here. Amazonite Genuine. Thought I just saw it. Jadeite Genuine's the next one, but where's Amazonite Genuine? Oh, it's up here. Which also, mine is not that shade. Mine is, oh, I guess it is. Mine's with the Viridians. Cascade Green. Cobalt Teal Blue. Huh, I actually don't own that many greens from them. Oh, because there are some down here. There are some that I haven't put away. Well, I have put them away. I just haven't reordered the spreadsheet. Green Apatite Genuine. Serpentine Genuine. All right. Let's grab this. Oh, Oh, and fuchsite. Of the purples, I want to say Cabzol is the only one that I might add. Same with mine, Blue Dark. If this wasn't like, I think it's like $40 a half pan, I want to say. It is so expensive, or $40 for a tube of it. So expensive. But it is a really pretty color. So maybe someday, once I can actually afford to spend that much on a tube of paint. I like this. I like this. Shockingly, I like this. I like this. Can you tell that I'm a fan of dark and moody? I thought I had a pan of this. I do. I don't have a tube, but I do have a pan of it. I love this. All right. Honestly, not actually. I don't know. Like, it dries down similarly to Paraline. No, I guess it doesn't. All right. Browns. Rhodonite genuine. Issue is that we're going to do this again. Really. Jane's black, red, green. Lunar black. I've got shimmer on my hand. Lunar black. Wait, I thought I had, oh, I do. Black tourmaline genuine. Apparently I don't have lamp black or ivory from them. I do have Jane's gray. I have neutral tint. Hematite violet. Jade's gray, raw umber. Raw umber. Quinn gold. I think I've already done Quinn gold deep somewhere. Maybe. Maybe not. Nah, there's Quinn gold deep. Okay. Burgundy yellow ochre. Burgundy yellow ochre. Lunar Earth. Quin burnt orange. Buff titanium's already done. Burnt umber. I always find it funny that raw umber is so much darker than burnt umber. Perm alizarin crimson is done. Pymonite genuine. All right, look how sparkly fuchsia genuine is. Like, honestly, I don't understand how they're doing that without mica. All right, so there are all my Daniel Smith colors. What could I see myself adding? To neutrals? I'm shocked I don't have their Payne's gray, but I don't. So I could see myself adding their Payne's because it's super fun. I could see myself adding this one as well. Any of these? No, not really. Definitely none of the sparkly ones. So I guess we could bring in the gouache one. Because the only gouache I have is their titanium white, which is all the way down here. And I could definitely see myself getting their buff gouache. Oh, no, I don't have their titanium white gouache. I have their wisteria gouache. And I could see myself getting their white and their buff. And that's about it for this page as well. So let's go through this page and then we're done. And that'll be 266 colors swatched. Do I not? How do I? Oh, I've got nickel azo from somebody else. Rich green gold, yeah. Olive green, sure. Any of these new? Any of these new? Sure here. And I think that's it. Like, really, there aren't. Actually, I like their Prussian green too. If this was still PG-23, that would be a different story, but it's not. So for now, that's where we stand after the Daniel Smith 266 color dot card. Honestly, I thought this was going to take me way longer to do. I think it's only taken about an hour and a half to do. And I'm surprised there weren't more colors I liked. I'm also surprised about how messy it is. Like, there are so many sections that have drips of paint. For how much it cost, I would expect something higher quality from Daniel Smith. If I'm spending, so what's, most places have it for 45 Canadian, 40% on adult. So about $30 US, a bit over $30 US. If I'm spending that much on a dot card, I want a dot card that doesn't look like it's a mess. And this dot card just looks like a mess. And really, I'm not happy about that. And I think that's fair. So I'm interested to reach out to a couple of my friends who were talking about getting them and see if they ever managed to get their hands on them, because this was definitely I've done the Schminke dot card videos. I did them for all of the, or a good portion of the new Schminke dot cards. These ones that came out, I believe they came out like December last year. And these are, in comparison, so tidy compared to this. And so I want to reach out to friends who were talking about getting these to see if they ever managed to get their hands on them, because it wasn't easy to get. I think I placed the order for mine about 6 months before I got mine. And I want to know if they managed to get them, if they're as messy as mine is. Because it is, like, they're a useful tool. It's really helped me narrow down the Daniel Smith colors that I might be interested in someday. At the same time, it's a lot of money to spend on something that is this messy and missing critical information. Because, again, I'm going to pull out the Schminke ones. The Schminke ones include all of their pigment info right on the card. For the Daniel Smith ones, all the pigment info has to be written in because they don't include it, which also means that if these colors get reformulated, you have no way of knowing what the pigment numbers are for the versions on your dot card, which I find really frustrating. So this might be my last Daniel Smith dot card because Schminke just does it better. They put out what is, in my opinion, a far superior dot card. It's tidy. It includes its pigment numbers. I've also got this is their 140. All right, their 140 didn't include pigment numbers, which I remember being frustrated about at the time, but is still, the dots are smaller, but it is significantly tidier. So if you're looking for, and it's quite nice watercolor paper. So I use this as a color reference all the time. So it's just something to be aware of. But I hope you found this enjoyable. Thank you for watching. It's one of those projects where I'm never going to make back the amount of money I spent on the dot card. But I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope it was at least a little bit helpful if you're looking at picking out the colors yourself. And it gave you a little bit of insight. I will hopefully post pictures of the dot cards on Instagram. It's raining right now though, so hopefully by the time this video comes out, it has been nice for long enough that I can take pics of it. But if not, I was gonna say Otakano, but her resource library's gone. I will leave a link to my favorite watercolor reference site below, or current favorite watercolor reference site below that I've been using for a couple years, so that you can see sort of swatch comparisons if you're interested in that. But thanks for watching and have a great day.